After their parents passed away, two brothers, Ravi and Aman, were left alone in a small village with nothing but a tiny house, a patch of land, and a promise to stay together no matter what. Aman, the younger, was gentle and kind-hearted, while Ravi, the elder, slowly let greed take root in his heart. He dreamed of wealth, of building a bigger house, of owning more land. One day, he convinced Aman to give him the land, saying he'd use it wisely and always take care of him in return. Aman, trusting his brother and valuing family over property, agreed without hesitation. He believed in Ravi's words and sacrificed his share for the sake of peace and love between them. At first, things seemed fine. Ravi built a new home, planted crops, and earned money. But slowly, Aman began to notice the distance growing. Ravi became busy, cold, and focused only on profits. Yet Aman stayed silent, still holding on to the promise they made. His trust and hope remained strong, even as the shadow of betrayal quietly crept in. It was a quiet sacrifice, one born from love and a belief that family, above all, would never break its word. A year passed, and the small piece of land once shared by two brothers now held a grand house where only one lived in comfort. Ravi had sold part of the land and grown wealthy, expanding his home and lifestyle. Meanwhile, Aman, who had given up his share without hesitation, lived in a tiny shed behind the house, unseen, unspoken to, almost forgotten. He worked odd jobs in the village, earning barely enough to eat. Yet he never complained, still holding on to the bond they once shared. One stormy night, as rain poured and thunder shook the sky, Ravi knocked on the shed's door. Without emotion, he told Aman to leave. "I need the space for a guest room," he said flatly. Aman didn't argue. He simply nodded, quietly gathered his few belongings, and walked away into the darkness. In his place, he left a small wooden box on the doorstep. Inside was a loaf of bread, a worn childhood photo of the two brothers, and a note that read, "For when you remember what matters." Ravi didn't open it right away. And when he did, the silence in the house felt heavier than ever before, echoing with betrayal, heartbreak, and everything unspoken. A year had gone by since Aman walked away into the rain, and Ravi's once thriving life had crumbled to dust. The rains had failed, crops had withered, and his wealth, built on selfish choices, vanished. Neighbors who once praised him now whispered behind his back, mocking his downfall. With no money, no friends, and no one to turn to, Ravi wandered back to the only place he still had access to, Aman's old shed. It was quiet and cold, just as Aman had left it. In the corner, untouched, sat the wooden box Aman had left behind. Desperate and weary, Ravi finally opened it. Inside was a dry, crumbling loaf of bread, a faded photo of them as smiling children, and a simple note: "Family is the only treasure that never runs out." The bread, Ravi realized, was left when Aman had nothing, no roof, no food, no support. Yet he still gave. The weight of that truth struck Ravi like a storm. He sank to the ground, clutching the photo, tears streaming down his face. For the first time, he didn't cry over what he had lost, but over what he had thrown away. In that moment, regret gave birth to something new, a longing to make things right. In a quiet town far from the village they once called home, Ravi walked into a modest hospital, following a whisper he'd heard about a kind man who volunteered there every day. He found Aman in the corner of a small clinic room, gently tending to an old woman's bandaged hand. Time had changed him, thinner, quieter, but there was peace in his eyes, the kind that came from giving without expecting anything in return. Ravi stood frozen, ashamed. Aman looked up and, for a moment, their eyes met. Without a word, Aman walked over and wrapped his arms around his brother. No anger. No blame. Just warmth. Ravi dropped to his knees, tears falling freely. "I'm sorry," he choked. "I forgot what mattered." Aman knelt beside him, lifting him gently. "You're my brother," he said softly. "You came back. That's enough." From that day forward, they began again, not as rich or poor, not as wrong or right, but as family. Together, they opened a small home for abandoned children, giving others the love they had nearly lost themselves. And in giving, they found something far greater than wealth: peace, purpose, and the unbreakable bond of brotherhood. True wealth is not in what we keep, but in what we give.